I haven't done outdoor filming at the new place. I've been here a couple months. We just moved the. I'll take a still shot when I'm done. My white concrete picnic table from the old rental room. Tiny rental room that I lived in for 3 years, roughly, almost. Smallest place I've ever lived in. Probably the size of my college dormitory. But I wasn't very mobile, and when you're just laying in bed all most of the time, you don't really care how big the room is around you and all. That's like weird circumstances, but praise God, we're past that. I just came back from Bangkok with fun. Had the 1 year review of my my spinal surgery, and that was mostly positive. So as you do surgeries, you tend to chase going up one more vertebrae and pulling out one more disc and replacing it with bone and just fusing it. And that's happened to me already once. It's like a dislocated shoulder. The first time's a free pass. If it comes out a second time, it'll come out the rest of your life. And this is the same way. First surgery was poorly done, so it screwed the next disc above it. Okay, great. But now we fixed it correctly. So Rob, now it's up to you to you F it up again, then you're probably going to be chasing this the rest of your through your 70s and 80s, and that's going to suck. I had lots of questions about how far I can bend, twist, what's good, what's not good. Had about a 45-minute Q&A session with the doc, and I'm going to modify my workout some more. I'm lifetime banned from leg press. I'm looking at where the sunrise will come up. It should be up by now at 6:10 Monday morning. I've had some requests to talk about why I came here, why guys come here, and all that kind of stuff. And those were they were really well articulated requests and very reasonable. So I'm going to try and do that today. So, and I think my story is a typical one. As much as it's funny for me, from my ego standpoint of just all I know is me. I always think I'm trying to choose these more extreme things. I am really just an average guy. And which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. That's really at my core what I really am, because that's what I constantly drift back to. And my reasons here are almost inevitably the same as every other guy, a rational guy that I've talked to here. The truly extreme individuals that are addicted to alcohol, sex, fighting, abuse of various kinds, and extreme behaviors, and the kind of negative behaviors, I guess I'd have to say. I don't talk to them very much. If you have close family that you're really close to, good functional family that you're really close to, like guys here, they might have one or two brothers or sisters that they still talk to, that they're close, have a normal functional relationship with. They might have one parent they still come here, but the guys from a big close family that all do stuff together all the time, you don't hear that over here. So probably if that's your situation, you probably maybe aren't really going to come here. That might not work. You might not be happy. You got all this family stuff you're doing all the time. You do Thanksgiving together, Christmas together, all the birthdays together, and there's 80 of you. So there's all that, in which you don't see here. Typically, it's, kind of like, my birth family is one of those where people just, even when I was a kid, I remember being told, well, those people, we don't talk to them anymore. There was this bad blood from, 30 years ago, and there was this, and I wasn't missing much family-wise. I've got my 2 kids. I have a really good relationship with both my kids. I'm fortunate there. I hear a lot from guys that for whatever various circumstances, mostly I hear a lot about the ex-wives burning their relationship with their children. My opinion, maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, I got a male bias, but I think women are more competitive and more territorial than men on average. Obviously, there's guys that are competitive and territorial. We all know those guys. So I personally think women tend to be, more the scorched earth. But you can look up that term. It's from World War II, I think. Anyways, that's a interesting term. I didn't have a lot saying, Rob, you really got to stay here in the States. And I had, and it was kind of, fortunately, I never fell into like an anger or a resentment or anything, but I had set myself up for a nice retirement. I was a fairly successful small business owner. I wouldn't say mega successful or anything, but I was fairly successful small business entrepreneur. I always made like an above average income, and I never went crazy with my money or anything. I was dumb. I mean, like anybody, I was plenty dumb, but never fatally dumb. So I set myself up for a good retirement, and I really, 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 really had a chip on my shoulder. I did not want to be divorced. Unfortunately, if somebody knows that about you, then they know that how much they could treat you or not, and then get away with it because they know that you really don't want a divorce. That's how I felt. That's just me. That's my personal take on it. The other people might have a different opinion. I was a little surprised at the way things kind of went in a way. My personal take is that kind of like the Western relationships, I think a lot of them are kind of broken. The whole Western relationship dynamic thing, I think it's a bit broken. My personal opinion. The internet has only made it worse. That isn't the problem. Wasn't the internet though, but the whole concept that now due to everyone being able to see and think they know everyone from a photo or a couple short video clips and a self-written bio about themselves about how great they are on a dating app somewhere. You get the top basically. I mean, every social expert says the same thing, so it's probably true. The top 10% of guys in desirability with the big money, the neurosurgeon that's handsome and 6'1" and has a Porsche collection at his Malibu mansion, they're getting all the ladies because the ladies all will pick him if they can, and then locks kind of everybody else out, and then the women have the same problem. The woman that doesn't have a bikini figure and a beautiful chest and a movie star looks and all that, well, she can't get anybody because all the guys can see women that look just like that, half mile down from their house, and no one's good enough for anybody. That is the tip of that spear. What my son told me, and I'm sure it's true because my son told me, is in Japan. In Japan, like almost literally nobody's good enough to marry anybody, and their population they're like midway into population collapse, which I have not been a big believer in, but maybe I was wrong about that. I don't know, but if you look up Japan statistics and stuff or look at some stories on that, you kind of find like the worst case of this, and then you can kind of apply that as a shade of gray to maybe what you think your environment is. And here it's a little bit of the same thing, but it favors the men, and it favors the Thai men. And so that leaves plenty of table scraps for us older foreign guys, and the table scraps here are pretty attractive. It's like... It's like the second quality at the top of Wagyu steak place in Kyoto or something. I mean, it's still really tasty steak, Best steak you ever had in your life, and someone just got a better one. I don't care. I got this. This one's awesome, That's almost exactly what it's like. It's a bit of a crass analogy, and I'll apologize to any feminists that watch my channel. I doubt there's any that watch my channel, although I try to be honest and fair, but... So kind of got the out of left field divorce, and then and unfortunately that's right after when I had the medical stuff, and you get a lot of guys with medical issues, and then that complicates their lives in the West, and so this is common. So this might be you. So I'll do a super short because I've told the story a handful of times already on the channel, but with the forced retirement, mandatory back surgeries. I have had almost a major surgery per year for the last 5 years. And so that's a common thing here. You get a lot of guys, bad knee replacement, hip replacement, limp, cane. They let themselves get too heavy and are having a hard time taking it off. That's really hard. I got lucky with that. I got sick. I won't say what virus I had because I'll get demonetized. And this has happened to me already, and I never speak out anything politically. I don't. Most of my friends don't know my political opinions. I take pride in that. I don't push my opinions on anybody. I'm not a big. I share my opinions about this here, but that's it. I got sick before I came here, and I lost my sense of smell and taste a little bit, and then with the stress of the divorce and everything, the weight just naturally fell off, and I lost 50 pounds in a year. Ended up with a bunch of loose, saggy skin all over my face, but eventually it tightened back up. I did skin treatments, which they have here, which I'm thankful for, and they're cheap and they're easy. And I got my face back because I looked like my face looked like an empty gym sock, So now I'm back to a normal looking person, which is I appreciate. And I met with my financial advisor, and he said, Rob, your health care is going to eat up everything you have pretty much over the next probably 10, 15 years. You're going to be broke. And I was like, that's not really, quite what I planned for. That wasn't like, because I'd set myself up for, like, I was going to buy a classic Shelby Mustang, which those aren't cheap. Okay. So that's where I was at. And I was just going to go to join the Shelby Club and go to the different shows and drive around and have a good time. That was kind of like and be a gym rat. That was what I was thinking of doing for my retirement, being a Detroit guy. And that would have been fine. This is way better, of course, is the punchline. That wasn't going to happen anymore. That was all taken off the table at the last second. And so looking at affordable health care, drastically reduced cost of living, and then I was lonely. What I haven't mentioned is the biggest factor, honestly, of all of it was I was terribly lonely. If you've ever been married, but you're basically, two ships passing in the night is what my former spouse called it one time, so I can say that fairly because that's what they said. That's really all it was, and you get very low. Whether you're married or not, you can be super, super, super lonely. In fact, a marriage that's not functioning properly, you're much more lonely than if you were just a bachelor. Because as a bachelor, you'd pass some lady at the dry cleaners, hey, how you doing? Hey, you go grab coffee or something, and then you end up even just dating a little here and there, even if you're not some big stud, and I never was. You still end up with a date here, date there, and you got a little something going on, and it passes the time, and you feel good about yourself. But when you're married, you're banned from doing any of that. So you're really, it's like solitary confinement, really, And so the loneliness was a big thing. And I tell you what, when you come over here, you won't be lonely. You really do have to learn the skill of evaluating the flirts, figuring out who's who, and knowing what's a woman that just wants to geek or me annoy with you, and that's going to, in our case, as older guys here, foreign guys, that's almost always just about money. And if you just want that, I get that. Sometimes those are the smartest guys. They pay a certain amount every month. They get their girl, and when the girl is getting too entitled, they go, you know what? I've changed the locks, or mover's coming in 2 hours. I'm leaving. You enjoy it. The lease is paid up until Tuesday. They do that, and then they never have any baggage or problems. That can be a little lonely too. And then for me, that wasn't really an option because of all the medical care that I need. And it's distracting. And not to beat a dead horse, but like when you're in 24-hour pain, which is, I'll be in 24-hour discomfort my entire life, but I was in 24-hour like serious pain until about 6 months ago. So it fogs your brain. Have a good friend punch you in the stomach 2 or 3 times really hard, and then have him ask you a bunch of quizzes about adding and subtracting a bunch of like three-digit numbers. See how you do. I'm joking. Don't do that. But it's hard to focus, and it's hard to get stuff done. It's hard to move forward in your life. You will need assistance if that's your reality, and that was. So fun was wonderful for all that. But I found a good traditional Thai Isan cultural woman and her family. They all buy into this culture. Sometimes you get a woman that's still culturally traditional, but the family, there's 1 or 2 leaders in the family that are modern, they're gold diggy, and you're going to have problems. You can I know one lady that's kind of interesting. I just met her she's not a nice lady. You would not be happy married to her. She's always wanting to geek with me, and I just constantly ignore her. Young and pretty. Geez, you'd think this would have been my fantasy 5 years ago back in the States. She's, but now I realize that for what it is. But I met her whole family, and then it was like, they're all nice people. What gives? And I asked a couple of my Thai friends that know both of us, and I said, what? Not to be like a gossip, like a soup sip, but what gives with the her and they go, just sometimes happens. And I'm like, oh, okay, exactly. It's in the United States. You get like a nice family, and they raise one daughter that's like just a terrible gold digger, and a lot of that. So on that for a second, if you're going to find a lady, great, find a nice lady, but then make sure her family is nice, and then make sure there's no men hanging around. Jeez, don't do that. That's way more common than you would probably like to realize. Keep your eyes peeled when you're dating here. And then you will find good people. So what else led me to come in here? Oh, the heat. The heat. I love the heat. I love the dry heat, which is odd because this year is the hottest year that my Thai friends here can remember. I've had a couple people tell me in the last week. I was uncomfortable this year, and I was wearing muscle shirts a bit, and I thought, wow, what gives? I really don't like to do that. I don't like to look visually like the other foreigners here because they don't have a great reputation. You can see that in other videos, and I don't want to associate. I've worked hard for my good reputation. I don't want to be lumped in with those idiots, I'll call them. I was thinking of stronger phraseology, but we'll just go with idiots. And this year we've had humidity. I live out in the Karat area. In the city of Karat, it's a concrete jungle. It's a city. You're going to have hot and humidity. But you get just outside the city, you get into some of the rice fields, and I'll turn the camera around in a minute. And it's cool and breezy. And normally, when I'm riding my motorcycles, I can really feel the air on a motorcycle, obviously. And as soon as I get off the main highway that leads to my village, I immediately feel 10 degrees Fahrenheit or more cooler. This year, I hadn't thought about it, but when I thought back, I have not noticed that this year. Thailand, other than mountains, is mostly flat, and so any tiny elevation, the humidity tends to flow away from it, is my theory. I'm not a weather expert, but this particular village is named, if you translate the name, it means like high ground with trees. And as I'm told, it's a cultural translation that I wouldn't understand no matter how many decades I studied the language for. I don't think I'm that smart that I knew that. It's generally hotter in any direction I go. So I'm in like a little comfortable spot. And they're around. You can find them. And finding one of those that's 20 minutes from a nice city with all the amenities and a mall and dating and restaurants, man, I like that. That was my huckleberry. That was my fit. This has worked for me. And this then fits the things that I was missing that drove me to come here, which I guess I'll do off the top of my... I didn't make notes for this one. This I thought I could just do extemporaneously. It was loneliness, number one. I think money, number two. Pain and health management was probably number three. And then a fourth was a desire to travel. I lived my entire life within 1 square mile. I lived in a very nice area. I was very happy there. It was all that great stuff. But then most of my friends had moved on and done other things. And I felt a little stagnant, I guess, because I literally lived in a square mile until age 57, I think it was. And it's like, really, this has been a great fit. And as I talk to more friends and make more long-term friends here that have lived in or live part-time in Vietnam or the Philippines and such, every time I'm just more convinced that Thailand was the right choice. I've never had a conversation with anybody that's lived in any of the neighboring Southeast Asian countries. And I went, wow, I should have picked that one. Like, it always comes back that Thailand was the choice. And I'm going to stay with that. And a big part is the Thai people. They're so friendly and nice. When I go back home, it's a little bit of a downer in some ways, though. And I'm from Michigan, and the Detroit area is, you might be surprised if you're not from there, it's known for its being pretty friendly people. You think, oh, it's a tough town. It is a tough town. Don't go talking crap to some stranger. Don't do that. But in general, it's a very friendly area, but the Thais are friendlier. Very, very nice. And all the stuff isn't your baggage. Back home, there's stuff going on, and oh, crap, that's my culture. It kind of gets in your head. It's your baggage. Here, it's like, oh, I'm sorry you guys are dealing with that. Okay, but it's 1 o'clock. That's my usual lunchtime. I'm going to go get my lunch, and then I want to do have a nice massage today. So I'll see you. And I'm sympathetic, but it's literally not something that affects me. My money literally comes from another country every month. My pensions show up here, and I manage that very cautiously with my 61 years of life experience and 35 years of business experience. And I have no fears or concerns there that I'm aware of right now. And I just quietly, pleasantly live my little life that I built for myself. And it took me, I'm going on 4 years. I'll do a 4-year anniversary thing in probably another 5 videos or so. And I'm coming up on 4 years, and in 4 years, I've built a small, affordable house that I like. That's selfishly built around my needs. And I had this conversation with Fawn, and she was in agreement. And I built a dream motorcycle just for the fun of. And whether you like motorcycles or not doesn't matter. Maybe you want a nice car, or maybe you don't care about that, but you always wanted to have whatever it was in your life that you didn't have. You can probably do that here. To me, the irony and the sort of extreme craziness of riding a full custom chromed out chopper to the gym to do my rehab, I find that hilarious and fun. And it takes the seriousness out of my life a little bit. When I'm riding this big, ridiculous, I mean, it's really kind of almost a show quality motorcycle. It's almost a show bike. And I mean, to ride that my physical therapy sort of versus just being practical. Oh, I got therapy today. Oh, I'm old. Oh, my back hurts. You know, and here I'm riding this big crazy machine. You know, and I've always been an engine exhaust sound guy. When I was in the Subaru car scene in Detroit, I had a high performance Subaru, tuned the hell out of it. Did as much of the work as I could myself, which was a lot. That car was not legal for U.S. roads. It would not pass any inspections. But in Michigan, we don't do inspections. I mean, it was had almost a full race suspension on it. I mean, short story. You meet these aggressive drivers in Detroit, and a lot of them these little tiny entitled, really rich women. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's just what I saw. There was guys too, but this one case, I look back and there's this blonde lady, you know, probably 40s, and she could barely see over the steering wheel. She's this tiny little thing, but she's in this 6,000-pound giant authoritative truck, and she's riding my ass. And we're coming up on the exit ramp, and I'm going, you know, 20 over, and she's on my ass. Like, how fast are you going to go, lady? So, hey, I got a sense of humor. I don't have to slow down to hit that ramp. I can do that ramp at 80 miles an hour. Can you? Turns out she couldn't. She was right on my ass. I mean, her giant, ridiculous Cadillac emblem was, you know, this big in my mirror. And all of a sudden I hear this horrible loud screeching sound. All four of her tires are sliding. And then all of a sudden her emblem was this big, and it was like this big. It was like the Wile E. Coyote cartoons, you know, and I just kept driving. I just never hit my brakes. I was running errands. In fact, I think I was going to the, pretty sure I was going to the, what do they call it, the Red Cross, where you get those used clothes and stuff. I still go there and buy my used clothes. There's one by me. It's, they have nice stuff. And you do have a really aggressive drivers here too, because the high politeness standard. A lot of people want to burn off energy, and status is a big thing here. And a person in Asia, particularly a wealthy person and then a wealthy man, that they have a status that you cannot have in the West. There's an implied spiritual purity that comes along with, I'm telling you, okay? And there's all these other things, and they just want you to get out of their way. And I just get out of their way. I'm not fighting for a lane with anybody in Thailand. I'm not doing that. And I'm not doing that on a motorcycle, and I'm not doing that in Fawn's car. And maybe in another year when I get my car, I'm not doing it in that either. Well, I'm not fighting for anything. Hey, buddy, go. Enjoy your future accident. You know, they're driving totally unsafe. But they don't know. They don't have any driver training here that I can see that's based on any kind of sound engineering principles that I am aware of. So, no, that's kind of what drove me here. I mean, I had built a nice life for myself, but things just sort of unraveled. And then I didn't have the ties back home, family ties. I had some really close friends. And you lose a lot of those, unfortunately. But the really real ones, which unfortunately it's going to be really few or none. But the real ones will then stay with you. And then here, it's been 4 years here, and I have, I'm going to say off the top of my head, like 3 good friends here, that people that I feel actually care about me, and we have some significant things in common, and I enjoy a good conversation with them and all that. And I've met maybe a dozen, and kind of you do those little trial friendships. You meet somebody a little bit, talk to them a couple of times, and you sort of realize, yeah, that guy's got anger issues, or he's a tinfoil hat guy, or, you know, whatever, you know, or they can't hold a conversation. You know, they're you know, for lots of reasons. It's crazy here. You'll get disappointed, but it's going to be you, and more you here. That's what you're going to find, and you want to be comfortable with that. Oh, Coon Paw at the gate. I'll blow it up. Okay, Bepna, gotta go. Okay, and here's the slideshow. So this is the little table that I was recording this video at this morning. And here's a view of my front yard going towards the sunrise. You can just see it coming up there. And this is the view the opposite way of my front yard, showing the new garden area. Here's a smoke that I had, really nice. My son sent me. I sent him a picture back. And here's Fawn round 2 at the Witch's Brew. We had a great time, so we came right back. And another drink I had with my friend Kevin at the Witch's Brew. And then here's a shot of me with one of Fawn's boys. I taught him to swim successfully, finally. And then here I am with him again. This is Ken. And we're in Bangkok having a little lunch. And then here's Fawn making some cute little poses with a margarita at a Mexican lunch we had the following day, which was really quite tasty. And then here's the x-ray on my spine, which was mostly good. Thank you for watching my YouTube video.
If you've watched this far, please consider hitting like and subscribe.